It was interesting, Andros. Graham Souness, I like Graham when he talks, I listen. And he's called on Billy Gilmour, of course, who's become a real favourite with the Scots, real favourite with Chelsea, to stay at Chelsea and learn from winners instead of heading out on loan next season. Norwich, we're told, remain very much in the driving seat to get him on loan. Andros, how do you do that? How do you balance a player's desire to progress with his career against a manager's desire for patience and see what he can do for him?
I think it depends what stage of the career you're at. The stage Billy Gilmour's at now, where he's come on the world stage, he's played well for Scotland in a major tournament, he's played games for Chelsea. He needs more. He's got the taste for it. He needs more. He needs to be going out playing football. And if you're saying he's got a Premier League option in Norwich, I think it's reported, then he has to do that 100%. I think if you're talking 2 years ago, 3 years ago, yeah, great, being around great players, being around top players, learning from them, but he has to dislodge Kante, Jovetic, Jorginho and Kovacic.
Yeah.
So he's not going to get into that midfield three of Chelsea. So for me, the best solution, which I did when I was younger, just go out and play football and prove yourself.
Go out on loan. Having said that, Andros, Phil Foden has done all right by staying at City.
Yeah. I think that's an isolated incident, and I'd question whether that was his choice, or whether that was the club, and I'd also question whether that was their plan all along, or they just stumbled upon this world star Phil Foden. Do you agree, Simon?
Yeah, I think he's the exception that doesn't prove the rule. I think the fact of the matter is that it's better for players. I'm surprised at Graham that he would suggest that it's better being around a group of players rather than actually playing competitive football. Of course, being around world-class players on the training pitch is going to enhance you, but there's no more enhancement than playing competitive football. If they were suggesting that Billy Gilmour at this stage in his career dropped into League One and got booted around League One, I'd say perhaps not. Yeah. But he's going to go into a Premier League side. Oh, right, Norwich might be cannon fodder again like they were a couple of years ago. But notwithstanding it, he's going to play Premier League football against top-class players. Maybe not in a top-class side, but he's going to be playing competitive football. And I'm surprised that Graham would advocate that he needs to stay at Chelsea and just simply be around the periphery of it and learn to win. To get into that,
just be around the best. That's what he's saying.
Yeah, granted, but to get into, Harry Kane went out on loan. I mean, that is the argument that proves every argument, doesn't it?
Beckham
he went out on loan and played for Leyton Orient and Millwall and whoever else.
I think Billy Gilmour's best chance of impressing Thomas Tuchel is by playing 38 games in the Premier League and showing Thomas Tuchel what he can do in the first team on a weekly basis.
There you go. With Norwich.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting, Simon, because Mourinho's, of course, big part of talkSPORT's coverage in these Euros. Mourinho was on talkSPORT this week. He explained why Kevin De Bruyne, if you remember, left Chelsea prematurely back in 2014, according to Jose.
Yeah.
He impressed me so much that I made the decision. I don't want this kid to go on loan. I want this kid to stay. And first match of the season, we played at home against Hull City, and he started the first match of the Premier League. Second match, we go to Old Trafford. After this, he come to me and he says, "I want to play every match. I want to play every minute." And the kid that was supposed to go on loan was not even happy to stay and to grow up in there and to be an ended product in there. So he put by himself a lot of pressure to leave. He wanted to go to Germany, where he was previously on loan, and he was so happy developing in the Bundesliga. And his decision was to go, and he put huge pressure on that, which worked very, very well for him. And in the end, Chelsea sold him, and the story is there. But the quality of the player is absolutely amazing. He's top 5. I think he's top 5 in the world. Is there.
Can you identify with that, Andros? There's Mourinho saying that as for De Bruyne, he didn't have the patience. He wanted to go out there and show that he could do it.
Yeah, but the problem is we don't know what actually happened. So saying it now when De Bruyne is one of the best players in the world, does it hold much weight? Simon?
Look, I mean, Jose Mourinho's in the Jose Mourinho business, and it's a little bit self-serving. If he was the greatest manager in the world, he should be able to convince a young player that he is the be-all and end-all and follow his direction. So hang on a second, Jose. 1 minute you're the best manager in the world, next minute you can't convince a kid to come and stay with you. Right, get it right. But you can also believe, given this is a kid, or a young man now, that negotiated his own contract with Manchester City recently, So there was no
True,
agent involved.
true.
So he set a blueprint for his own state of mind. So he obviously had great belief in himself. From what I understand last year, when all the players had their players together nonsense on their Zoom calls telling everyone how they weren't going to take pay cuts.
Nonsense?
Yeah, nonsense.
Nonsense? Should we
Nonsense.
stop and go through that?
We can deal
or
with
are
that
we going to
anytime you want,
continue?
mate. We can deal with anyone. He was the one player that was on the Zoom call with his lawyer next to him. So I think he's got a real awareness of his own position in the food chain. But Mourinho is talking about a situation where a young player, if Chelsea have got him under a 4-year, 5-year contract, he can bark at the moon, can't he? He can, you know, he can sit there going, I want to go, I want to play. It's confidence and it's great. But I don't think there's many footballers in any team that can be in a position that sits at the beginning of the season with the manager of an elite football club and say, unless I'm playing every minute of every single game, I want to be on my way.
What did you do, Andros? Before you went out on loan, did you say, hang on, I'd rather do it here?
When I was younger, I knew I had no chance. But as I got to 20, 21, 22, I was having those conversations. I was saying, I don't want to be on the I don't want to be in the reserves or
The
in the
periphery.
23s on the periphery. I want to be playing. And I was told at the time, no, you're a big part of the future. We can't let you go. And in the end, they were proved right because I broke into the first team. So, yeah, I don't doubt as young players, you don't see the bigger picture. You always want to be playing the here and now. And that's when the manager or the director of football, the chairman has to tell you, no, you're not going. You're a big player for us in the future. You have to stay. So if they wanted De Bruyne to stay, they would have kept him.
absolutely right.
But as for Billy, go to Norwich. That would be your advice. Go to Norwich, impress Tuchel from distance, and play every game or as many as you can for Norwich in the Premier League next season.
100%. Before I went to QPR, I was told by AVB or people around AVB that he would never trust me until he sees me playing week in, week out in the Premier League. And I went out on loan to QPR. I did that, played very well for half a season. And then the next season, I got into the Spurs first team. So for me, that's Billy Gilmour's best route to getting in at Chelsea.
But Billy Gilmour's a different scenario to Kevin De Bruyne because Kevin De Bruyne wasn't prepared to go out on loan. He wanted to be moved away to be guaranteed. Billy Gilmour's, we're only talking about Billy Gilmour going on loan, so it's a different dynamic. So we're comparing apples with oranges, like comparing winning with Scotland.
Thank you. Why would Billy necessarily, just ignore that, Andrew, why would Billy necessarily, in his bid to improve as a player with Norwich, who, let's face it, are going to find it hard going next season?
I think at 16, 17, you're best off standing around the best players and improving and learning and watching them. But he's done that. He's been through that stage. He's done that. He's got to a stage now where he's good enough to play Premier League football. And for me, I felt my biggest learning curve was by playing Premier League football and learning my mistakes and learning how to adapt and playing a man's game and playing for 3 points every week. So for me, he's done that training field learning now. He needs to go and play games and learn his role in this footballing world.
Does it work for everybody? Loftus-Cheek went to Fulham last season from Chelsea. Does he come back a better player?
Every player is different. I remember when Ruben Loftus-Cheek came to us at Crystal Palace, he had that same effect. He was similar to Billy Gilmour. He was on the periphery. He came to Palace. He was unbelievable, and within 3 or 4 months, he was in the England squad going to the World Cup in Russia. So it does work if you obviously apply yourself and you take to it right.
Jim White and Simon Jordan, Monday to Thursday morning, 10 till 1. On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.